Tuskegee 626. Somebody done got slick. When deadly germs are taking turns, seeing what makes us tick. Tuskegee 626. Scientists getting their kicks. When deadly disease can do what it please, results ain't hard to predict. Tuskegee 626. Pushed aside mighty quick. When brothers you dig are guinea pigs for vicious experiments. Tuskegee 626. Somebody done got slick. When deadly germs are taking turns, seeing what makes us tick. Tuskegee 626. Scientists getting their kicks. When deadly disease can do what it please, results ain't hard to predict. Tuskegee 626. Pushed aside mighty quick. When brothers you dig are guinea pigs for vicious experiments.
A friend of a friend got it first. We should probably all get tested, and we should get the shots, just to be safe. The nurse told me I might have a panic attack. It's common, he said, and just to let him know. One syringe full in each ass cheek. My strongest memory is the thickness of the liquid. Much too thick to be injected into muscle like that. This thickness, pushing its way deep down my legs and thighs, spreading out, trying to reach my ankles. I laughed at the pain as a way of coping with it. So foreign and so rude to take me by surprise like that. And after standing up on shaky legs, I told the nurse that I might be beginning to panic. Like a penny rolling around the edges of the game. Like being a child watching it spin from your hand round the basin, candy-colored. Headed down into the hole to fall into it and disappear forever. Like a corkscrewing bacterium, a spiral key known as the great imitator. Spirochete, spiraling, an undulating bacterium. Treponema pallidum, a subspecies T. pallidum, works its way through the body, lies dormant in the skin, forms a sore where it enters, almost invisible, skirting its way and winding through cells. There's no tissue it doesn't inhabit, no muscle untouched. It can find its way into everything, and humans are the only known natural reservoir. Syphilis is divided into 3 stages when sick, with different symptoms at each step. During the primary stage, you might notice a single or multiple sores. These are usually firm, round, and painless, meaning it can easily go unnoticed. This will heal, regardless of whether or not you receive treatment. During the secondary stage, you might have skin rashes, mucous membrane lesions, sores in your mouth and other orifices, rough, red, or reddish-brown spots on the palms of your hands or the bottoms of your feet. It usually won't itch and is sometimes so faint that you won't notice these sores. Other symptoms you might have include fever, swollen lymph glands, sore throat, patchy hair loss, headaches, weight loss, muscle aches, and fatigue. Again, the symptoms from this stage will go away whether or not you receive treatment. Without the right treatment, your infection will move to the latent and possibly tertiary stages of this illness. The latent stage of syphilis is a period of time when there's nothing. If you don't receive treatment, it stays invisibly in your body for years, dormant, waiting. And though it's arguably rare in modern times, the tertiary stage will affect many different organs and systems, including your heart and blood vessels, your brain and your nervous systems. It appears 10 to 30 years after your initial infection and often results in death. It's in this stage that syphilis' stigma was established, its powers of disfigurement perpetuated by its reputation as being passed through sexual contact and then being hidden, only surfacing years later, causing the sufferers sudden blindness, for their heart to stop beating or their mind to become deranged. What is it in the city? What are shared spaces? Is there dormancy under the skin, in a lesion that constitutes a public, a body, that constitutes labor or eroticism? See the grid, see a boundary, and cross it. Maybe you have no choice. Maybe you thought at first, then found yourself across from it, just wandering through. The city grid, the grid of a body, is a carceral grid, and a treponema wrung out like a wet towel slips through it, a polyvalent shape that breaks horizons. Has a reputation as the disease of the other. Debates still linger as to whether Columbus and his soldiers brought it to the so-called New World, or if they became infected there and brought it back to Europe in the form of some sort of biological revenge. Can a disease make such a choice independent from us? Who exacts cruelty or revenge? What bacterium decides? Can living constitute revenge? Can death? Who gets blamed for the lives that live within their body? Do you possess a good character? It's an endless war, a total war. In the 16th century, it became known as the disease that trailed behind soldiers, left behind by total destruction, as much as the rubble of buildings, displaced people, of rape, marauding armies, these sores left on the skin or inside your mouth. Another trauma that lies dormant in the body. Primary, secondary, tertiary, latent. 15th century Naples, when its citizens were sick, they were rampaging, out of control, apparently. And so the Pope asked the king to invade the city to control these infected lower classes, seemingly oblivious to the fact that the soldiers themselves constituted this body. Within city walls, a pox on your house is not such a hard curse to summon. Tuskegee 626, also known as the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment, also known as the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, also known as the United States Public Health Service's study of untreated syphilis in black males, 1932. 600 black men, 399 who were deliberately injected with syphilis, whilst 201 remained as a control group who did not have nor were given this disease. None of these participants were informed of the true nature of the experiment. No consent was ever given. They were studied for the effects of the disease long-term on their bodies and minds, and were sourced by the researchers by notices posted throughout Macon, Alabama. Free blood test, free treatment, by county health department and government doctors. You may feel well and still have bad blood. Come and bring all your family. The Tuskegee experiment only ended in the 70s, 40 years after it began, when a researcher finally blew the whistle on it. However, research papers were published continuously throughout the experiment, this information hypervisible and hidden simultaneously. These experiments in health, disease, antidote, and poison are carried out using people inevitably drawn as test subjects from the disciplinary institutions into which they've been sent: the army, jail, wage slavery, or from the colonized territories within which they're enclosed. And these regimes were preceded by the complete colonial expropriation of plants, animals, and human bodies, the forced displacement of millions of people, an indentured labor force, and a reproductive force for capitalism. This study at Tuskegee was never really an experiment in its truest sense. It was a study of what the researchers there called the natural history of a disease. The productive process of capitalism takes, and continues to take, its raw material from bodies, knowledge, communication, and social relations. The natural history of the body as artifact. You may feel well and still have bad blood. The natural history of a disease. Syphilis is corrosive. Teeth falling out, the structure of a nose collapse, your tongue covered in welts, total war, slow death. It was the Victorians who would inhale a bath of mercury as a curative, this cure just as corrosive as the disease itself.
Okay, sir, again, push your stomach out.
With the many inflictions this caused, cod pieces, powdered wigs, merkins, and false silver noses became the customary garments worn to conceal the ravages of such a sickness. Images imprinted onto our common history. One night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury, was how the saying went.
So loosely fluttering, hither and thither, in space.
I had a terrible dream last night that I had told a lie. I had lied to a man, one half of this couple I met recently but barely know. We had had lunch, I'd pet their dog. I really don't know them. But in the dream, I had lied to him, and I had told him that I had been sick, gravely sick as a child, and we had bonded over our convalescent youths and our shared traumas. But I hadn't been sick. I was not sick like that as a child. For some reason, I had lied to him, this lie occurring before the dream began. But in the dream, I was trapped in the panic of this enclosure, the enclosure of false intimacy. Trapped in the enclosure of the false intimacy created by the presumption of a shared experience. Thank you.